Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of PixlFeed Radio, and I'm here with my friend Salena Knight. Salena, how you doing today? From Australia, which is 7 a.m. tomorrow, from the future.
I'm talking to you from the future. Yes, I am rip-roaring and ready to go.
How much coffee have you had already?
I have only actually had a half of a cup of tea, so not very much.
Tea. No,
Yes, I'm a
but
tea drinker.
Are you? By 7 a.m. already have like at least a 1.5 in me to get ready to go. So for those of you that don't know, Salena, she's a former arborist that found she was better at building the businesses she worked for than she was climbing trees. I love that line. Your story is quite like mine. 2007, when the crisis hit, you launched your first e-com store, and then Flower Child, that was the name of it. So
Yep.
I don't want to butcher the whole story. So let's get right into it. So what happened? 2007 hits. You're like, oh my God, I got to do something. So go for it.
I actually didn't have to do anything because I had a really nice, cushy government job that paid really well.
Right.
What happened was I became pregnant, and like lots of mums who start businesses, it really starts to make you reevaluate what you want from your day-to-day life. And
Right.
I worked in quite a toxic environment because it was a lot of men who had been in the industry for a very long time and had their very old ways of doing things. And a young woman comes in with all these ideas because I am better at building the businesses. This is what I've just, in hindsight, I've seen that.
Yeah.
And I could see straight away that there were ways that we could move things through quicker, like stuff that was taking 3 weeks. I got down to 3 hours by the time I'd left because they were literally like driving pieces of paper to the other side of the city. It's like we could just email them, or we could just put them in a Dropbox. We didn't have Dropbox back then, but we had our own server.
Right.
We could just put them on the server, that was their social activity. That was half a day that they could spend driving paper around. And so I had my little core group of friends, but it was also one of those things where you knew that there were levels of management who just didn't want you there. And it all came to a head when I had negotiated this really big deal. So I was an arborist, and for those who are listening, that's a tree surgeon. And where I was working at the time was for the power company. And so I had negotiated this deal with lots of different stakeholders, with the local county council, with us, with environmental departments, because there was this piece of endemic land that needed to be saved. And so I worked out a way that for just $1,000 more than what it was going to cost us, we could reroute the power lines essentially. And when I took it to the boss, 6 months in the making, when I took it to the boss, he said to me, no. And I was like, it's $1,000, like seriously, $1,000. They spend that on lunch. Like that's nothing.
Right.
And he's like, no, we're not going to do it. And I tried, but what about the press that we would get from it? What about the goodwill? No. And I was so angry because I'm quite passionate. And I said to him, well, what am I even here for? And he said, because the legislation says we need to have you here.
Wow.
I know, way to make someone feel really empowered, right? Because the law says we have to have you here.
And you were pregnant at the time on top of it?
No, I don't. I think it was just before I got pregnant.
And I was going to say because the hormones, man.
Oh, no. It would have been just before. And that was the point where it was like, W2, what the hell am I doing here?
Right.
And I guess from there, I started looking at other things. And I got pregnant, and I'm quite passionate about sustainability. So this was back in 2007. And we didn't have a lot of eco products. They're nothing like that. You can't just go into Target and buy them. And so I started importing them and selling them back on forums. I had an e-commerce store, but e-commerce wasn't a thing in 2007. And so most of my business came from PayPal and posting on pregnancy forums. And so I started making enough money to leave my job. And so when my daughter was born, I had to go back. And I only went back for, I think it was about 5 months before I just decided that it wasn't worth it. Like coming to this environment every single day, leaving my kid in childcare, it wasn't worth it. And so I left and I started a business. I actually opened a physical store. I was painting it on my daughter's first birthday and took that off, and took off, and eventually ended up with a chain of stores, and we won loads of awards for our customer experience, customer service, for our product range. And I sold those in 2015.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So okay, I don't even know where to start because like I didn't start my first store. I think it was 2010. Yeah, 2010 when Facebook ads first became public. Somewhere on there. I can't remember the exact dates because like I don't know. Some people like you're gonna give me crap because one day I'll say 2009 and 2000. I can never remember the exact dates.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we were one of the first businesses on Facebook in 2008.
Yeah. So when did Facebook ads become public? I
Facebook
think
ads probably about 2009.
Yeah, so that's why I started 2009 because I got access. Like I was one of the first people to get access to it.
Yeah, I remember we could spend like $20 a month and get so much traffic.
I know. I tell people all the time, I'm like, dude, $5, you will make $2,000 back in one shirt. And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, it was the.
And you would because you couldn't post photos back then. Right at the beginning, it wasn't photos.
No.
And so you would post, Salena is feeling excited about the new stock that has arrived. Salena is unboxing pink nappies.
Yeah. No, man, it's great. It's great to have like an OG like myself. So let's go through the whole thing. So what you started from the forums and all that stuff. So what platform did you move into right away as far as like to sell the stuff like WooCommerce, Shopify? Well, Shopify didn't come into a few years. Yeah, to a few years later. So
first website was, I'm going to say OzCommerce. It may have even been one before that, but I know we definitely had OzCommerce in the store because we didn't have a POS right at the beginning. And so we used to run all the orders through the front end of the website to keep all the inventory updated. And
oh my God, you remember having to find a merchant account and then having to hook it up, and then it wasn't native, and it's like make it work, and it was like it was such a pain. I'm getting flashbacks right now.
Trying to teach your team about it, they were just like, oh, and it was so they couldn't understand why we couldn't just take the money.
Yeah,
like, because we need to know how much inventory there is.
I remember one of my biggest headaches, and I still remember to this day because it took literally like weeks to figure out. It was shipping, how to calculate shipping with the US, with the rates from the mail rates throughout the US, and we could not get it to calculate it right. So I had developers.
Do you remember having to weigh everything because it all goes on weights? So everything had to be like we had scales and everything had to be weighed. But I make it sound like it was really easy, but it actually really wasn't. It was really tough at the beginning because I was selling stuff that nobody had ever heard of. No one had seen this kind of stuff before. They might have seen it on forums, but it was really groundbreaking in terms of we were selling reusable nappies, which, again, are everywhere these days. But back then we were importing them and even manufacturing them. And so that was a whole different ballgame, stories of manufacturing. But what I realized, and we're just talking just then about having to teach the team how to use the front end of the website to do inventory management and things like that. But I was, like you're just talking about, I was always full of ideas and ways that we could make things better. And that was great for a time. As visionaries, as people who own businesses, we tend to get flooded. Like we have more ideas in a day than most people have in a year.
Yeah.
The problem is I acted on 95% of them.
And I used to too.
Yeah, right. So I would come into the store, I would listen to podcasts, and I would come into the store and I would be like, oh, I've got this great idea. And you would see the faces of my team just drop, and they'd be like, their whole shoulders would slump down. And they would just be like, what's the great idea? What are you going to make us do today? And it came to a point where the beautiful girl that I had working for me nearly literally broke down into tears. And she said to me, I just can't. And I said, you haven't even heard the idea. She's like, I already have 20 ideas that you've given me in the past week that I haven't even had a chance to action on because they were doing these things in between serving customers in the store. And she's like, I know that they're great ideas, but I have no bandwidth left. Like I'm trying to work out which of these 20 you want me to do first. And then all the other things. And then if we have a busy day, I get none of them done. And then I feel really bad that I've let you down and I've let the business down. And you're sort of a great employee, right? Someone who gets that upset about the fact that they've let you in the business down. And that was kind of one of those, you look back and you see those turning points. And that was one of those moments where I just went like, holy crap, I'm a bad boss. And I wasn't a bad boss. I was just not a very good leader because I wasn't controlling the vision of where we were going. And they were so bought in, they were so bought into our customers and the vision and how we wanted to change the world that they were upset that they couldn't help me get there. And they were only upset because they just didn't have enough hours in the day. And so that was one of those moments where I literally walked into my office, sat down and just went, this cannot continue. Like I cannot make my team cry ever again unless it's happy tears. And so I got a piece of like wrapping, like shipping paper, that comes in the great big, the brown paper. And I still have a picture of this. And I took about a 6-foot piece and I stuck it on the back of the door. And I just started writing all the ideas down. And I said to the girls, you can come in. There's a picture of it. And there's a little one that says brainstorming. It's like any ideas we have, they're now going on the sheet. We can't do anything for 48 hours unless it goes on the sheet. And then I decide whether it's still a great idea. And this is actually something I still do with my consulting clients now, is if they have a great idea, they're not allowed to do anything for 48 hours. Because 48 hours later, you realize maybe it's not the best idea, or you don't have the resources, or you don't have the time.
Yeah, I see that you have your whiteboard. I got my whiteboard right here to my left. And it's literally like I get ideas and I just write them down and I think they're the greatest ideas ever. And then I look at it 2 days later, I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
It's like
double-sided whiteboard, that one. It moves around.
Yeah. And now, I told you that I just launched a new brand. I actually have a partner in this one and she's amazing to work with. But we're very alike in the sense that I'm not so much as she is now because this whole online world is new to her. So she gets shiny object syndrome like every day and I already been through it. So I know how to control it. I'm like, I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to give it away, but X, you got to chill. One thing at a time, baby steps, write it down, put it on the list. It's in Slack. We can always come back to it and read it. One day we'll get to it, but one step at a time. Trust me. Like, if it's a good idea, we'll get it done at some point. But it's like, she's learning this whole world. And I forget that I've been in this world for over a decade. Yep. And to her, when she sees like the back end of stuff and the data, she's like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like we can go to these places like and open a retail store because this is where everybody's buying. I'm like, yeah, we have an advantage. Absolutely. It's like, and I get excited when she talks about it because it reminds me when I first discovered all the cool stuff that you can do,
Yeah, so, but you have to rank, right? You have to, and good ideas will keep popping up. So those ones that are really good ideas that are going to move your business forward, they will continually come up. But, as I said, I make it sound like it was so easy, but it was actually a lot of hard work because a lot of the things that we have now, we didn't have back then. So even things as simple as email service providers, there was no AI. Like to do what Klaviyo does for $79, you would have had to have bought a $150,000 enterprise package.
Mm-hmm.
I look at these things and just go, why the heck are you not using it? Like you are an idiot if you are not segmenting.
Right? I'm like, why aren't you using your email? Like it's literally so easy. Like, yes, it's going to take you a few hours to set up, but once it's set up, it's like free money all day long. Like, why wouldn't, well, I don't want to bother people. I'm like, dude,
I don't want to bother people.
Bother them. If they don't want to be bothered, they don't subscribe and that's it. That means they're never going to buy from you in the first place. So who cares? Next.
And to be fair, if you're bothering your customers, you haven't segmented properly. And you can just spend a little bit more time and let them opt into what they want to do. And even back then, we made so much money from email. And we were very pioneering, and we still are pioneering, but in our shop, we were very pioneering because we had things like YouTube tutorials. Like we used to host them on our website before we put them onto YouTube. And when someone bought specific things, we would send them out an email sequence saying, here's a tutorial on how to use this thing you've just spent $300 on. Now, that's all very common these days, but this is what we won awards for because we were thinking, what does the customer want? And that's what nowadays we call the impact pillar. And so I'm very passionate about the 5 pillars of retail success. It's taken me 15 years to work this thing out. And it's just going back and I find all these, I cleaned out my desk just recently and I found this scrap of paper and I had the date on it and it was like 2015. And I had kind of mapped this same thing out back then, but it didn't have a name and it was a bit more convoluted. And I was like, this thing has been growing since I first had my business. It's been like percolating. It was one of those great ideas. It took like 10 years to form. Right. And so the purpose of it is that there are 5 core areas of your business. And at any one time, you suck really bad at one of those. But
yes.
So money, sales, customers, marketing, and impact. And money, just to be clear, is understanding the physical
Hold on,
nature of
slow down. So
money.
those are the 5 pillars. Those are the
Those are the
five.
5 pillars. Yeah. So money is understanding how money comes into, moves around and out of your business.
Mm-hmm.
We've got sales, which is the making of the money.
Right.
Customers. And so that's the whole customer journey, attracting them, catching them, connecting with them, converting them, and keeping them.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing. So marketing is telling the world that you exist and getting people to want to buy your stuff,
Mm-hmm.
not just posting on social media.
Right.
And then we have the impact pillar. And the impact pillar is, it's kind of the lost pillar, because brands that feel like they're doing everything well and not getting the traction generally have no impact pillar. And that is, we say it's building a brand, not just a store. It's having a reason for why you do your thing and not just posting crap on Amazon from AliExpress.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that's kept all these people going through COVID. That's what
Mm-hmm.
kept my business going through the GFC. It's that people want to connect with you. And you know a brand that is exactly like that. You would go there. If they were saying, we're having problems, you'd go and drop a couple of $100 just because you love what they do. And so we had the impact pillar nailed. I tell you what I didn't have nailed was my money pillar. So we could sell really well. We were so good at nurturing our customers. We were great at marketing. We were great at the impact stuff. But even though I had a business degree, I had no concept about profitability, about understanding, like I understood cost of goods and I understood profit margin, but it didn't occur to me, how long does it take someone to pack an order? And I just did this recently with a client and we improved her profitability by 30%. So no extra sales, but she had 30% more in the bank, because when she did that exercise, she found that her team, by the time they picked an order, packed it, paid for the box, the tissue paper, the sticker that goes on the box, the free sample, all the bits and pieces, not even the shipping, it was costing her $5.76. So in
Mm-hmm.
labor and materials. So we outsourced it to 3PL. They cost her around about $3. So she's saved about 40% in terms of the picking and packing.
Hold on, but where was she filling out? She had her own fulfillment warehouse when she was doing it.
So she had her own fulfillment warehouse. So she had not a store. She had a warehouse because she sold wholesale, mainly wholesale, and so they were picking and packing the orders to send to the stores. And so
she got it down cheaper by sending it to a 3PL. Really?
Yeah, nearly 40% cheaper. But then she also had her team who then got freed up to do other stuff. And she got cheaper shipping rates, because your 3PL quite often gets cheaper shipping rates because they have volume. And so that 30% profitability increase happened in just 4 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's $30,000 for every 100,000 she sells. What would that do for your business, right? To have 30,000, a lot, right? And so I didn't understand that stuff right at the beginning. And so it took me a while to realize, and I would say that, like, we're doing all the right things. Why is there no money in the bank? Like, everyone's getting paid, but why is there no money in the bank? And it took a while before I realized that there were all these hidden things, indent orders, like having to pay 50% of an order, $10,000 up front, and not having the cash for 6 months. And so the funny thing is, this is hilarious that I didn't understand money, because I have not lived at home since I was 14. I've been paying my own way since I was 14. I am such a tight ass. Like, I don't buy anything without thinking about it first. And so to kind of acknowledge the fact that the money part was the bit that was holding me back for a very long time, I felt like a failure. It's like, you have understood every cent that comes in and out of your life since you were 14. How the freaking heck did you get this so wrong? But it's because you're doing all the things when you start out. You have to do all those 5 pillars.
Yeah.
And so once I realized, and I'm not saying like one day I woke up, it was just a gradual realization that the money part was what was holding me back. That was when I started to make little tweaks. Now, the 90-day thing, that didn't come to a lot longer. So how I work with people and inside of my course, Scale Your Store, is we work in 90-day sprints. And so you pick out the thing that you are the most crap at, the thing that is holding your business back right now. And for 90 days, you make a plan to fix it. Now, the actions that you take are probably very, very small, because in 90 days, you can only achieve so much. And what ends up happening is people put down 30 different things that they want to do to attract more customers, let's say. You can't do 30 things to attract more customers in 90 days. You can't do them well. We generally break that back down to about 2 or 3. And so when you actually start from the end in mind, when you say, this is what I want to achieve, I want a 30% increase in the number of people in our customer database. First of all, you've got a metric to work towards. And nobody wants to put metrics in place, but actually it's proven that once you do, you end up exceeding them.
I'm so bad about that. I'm so bad about that. I admit it. I'm horrible at it, but see, I'm the type of person when I set goals.
Tell me why.
I don't know. I just, you know what? Because I don't know to throw just crazy, like, I say, for example, for this one, I did set a number because people keep telling me, you got to set a number. I'm like, no, I'm just going to fucking drive the ads as hard as I can. And, as much as we can make, as fast as we can, because I know I can do it. I've done it many times. You know what I mean? So I have an idea of where I can push it. So I don't want to set a number. I don't know. I just don't. I just go, I'm just going to go as hard as I can.
It's proven that if you create that number and you actually tell people about it, you are 40% more likely to exceed that number.
Well, I did put a number for this new brand that we talked about before we got on, because I can't tell you what it is because you guys will copy some of it.
So what's the number?
Even though you can't. So I got to get the head run here.
How many units? How many units are you going to sell?
I didn't break it up by units, but I did set a number for the first year. I want to do $1.2 million in sales. That's the goal.
So if you have that, then you can reverse engineer that. You can say, all right, $1.2 million, average order value, $120. Let's make it 100 because I can't calculate like that on the end. Equals 10,000 orders. Would that be right? You tell me. I haven't got my calculator.
I don't have my calculator either, but I'll take your word on it.
I feel like it's going to. I have my calculator just here. I don't go far. 10,000 orders times $100 equals $1 million. So you want to make 1.2 average order value, $120.
Average order value right now. Average order value right now is $80.
80. Okay, so there we go. You have two choices. You can either increase your average order value, so much easier, or you can get more sales, way harder, way more expensive.
Work on the average order value.
Work on the average order value. And so then because you've reverse engineered it, you said $1.2 million, let's call it 10,000 sales, 10,000 orders, average order value, $120. Then you can break that down to, that's like 800 orders a month. That's not very many.
It's not. It really isn't. That's why I said 1.2, because like when you say a number like that, when I said it to my partner, she's like, oh my God. I was like, that's nothing. Like break it down, like 1.2 divided by 12 X, what is it? 100 grand or whatever it is. Yeah. And then 100 grand divided by 31. And then you divide it by day. And it's like, oh, see, it's not that crazy. It's like, you just gotta be consistent about it. Listen, and I say it's not that crazy, it's not that hard, but I've been doing this for a long, long time. So I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's different.
When you have that number, you aren't running on the hamster wheel of hope. That's what we call it, where you just get up, you turn on your screen, you run an ad, and you just cross your fingers and hope that you are going to make sales. You actually say, we only made 13, so I think it worked out to be 27 sales. We made 13 sales today. We need to do 50% extra tomorrow. How are we going to do that? And then you start building out a strategy. And this is what people don't do. This is what visionaries don't do, because we hate details. We hate the boring stuff. But if you don't want to do it, that is totally okay. When I say you have to focus on what you're crap at for 90 days, you personally don't have to do the work.
Right.
You just have to put the resources in, whether that is people or your time or your money, but somebody has to do it, and you have to be accountable, because you have to set the results. So you might say, all right, we've got to do those 26 orders a day, and you might outsource it. I know that you're doing your ad yourself, but you might outsource it to a marketing company. You say your benchmark is 26 orders a day, $120 average order value. At least then they have something to work towards, right? They know what that, if you say $1.2 million a year, then they might go, well, we did like $8,000. This is a slow month. We just need to get more next month. So you need to be in control of your business, and you might want to seasonally adjust those numbers. You might say, okay, well, we can do $8,000 this month, but at Christmas time, we're expecting to do 22,000 for 3 months straight. And then in February, we know that it drops off. So that's what understanding your money is about. Because if you don't know that, then every day you just get up and you open the doors, you just get up and you turn on your computer, you just get up and you post crap on social media, with no end in mind.
With no goal, yeah.
No goal.
And you'll be amazed of, I'm sure you get it too. I mean, on the agency side of things that I do, we work with literally a handful of clients that we vet, and it's like, it has to be a good fit and it has to be a good brand, the whole 9 yards. But I remember when I was starting out and I was trying to build a portfolio of clients just so I can show, hey, this is what we're capable of, I'm capable of, for your brand. I can't even tell you how many people didn't know the numbers. I was like, what? You don't know like your cost of goods? You don't know what your CPA should be? You don't know what your average order value is? What's your lifetime value? I have no idea. What's your returning customer rate? I have no idea. I'm like, how? And some of these brands were like successful. I'm like, how have you gotten so far? Like, it's crazy.
I have worked with $4-5 million brands, people who have chain of stores, 6-7 stores, who can't answer those questions. So
that's insane.
It is insane. But it's because generally I find it's because nobody ever showed them how. And that is something that I am really passionate about. And I built my program. It's not a course, it's a program, Scale Your Store, because it goes through all 5 of the pillars and it says, here are the core things you need to know about each one. Now you need to choose which one. And then there are strategies. So if it's something like sales, there's strategies like how to do pre-sales, how to do a product launch. And so you don't have to go and watch all of those. If you don't need to work on sales, don't watch the videos, right? But you also have to understand that if you say, I'm going to get my $1.2 million in sales, so I'm going to have to do some marketing, right? So each pillar is kind of going to be mushed into each other, but the core focus needs to be sales. So you could do marketing to build your customer base. No, you said you were going to focus on sales. You could do marketing that focuses on, giveaways. No, you said you wanted to focus on sales. So by telling people to focus, I do tell people, I guess that's the difference is I'm not a coach, I'm a strategist. People come to me and say, what do I need to do? And I don't do what do you think you need to do? We map out a plan. And so by having this core focus of
you're my type of person. Straight to the point. It's like, this is what you got to do. That's it. Then.
Just do these things. And this is how people can go from $100,000 turnover to on track to do $1 million in 5 months when they work with me, because we have these core focuses, and the core focus for that person was clearly sales. Now, when you do that, every time you want to go off, we're talking about the shiny object syndrome and all the new things we're going to do. When you go off and you see those things, it becomes so easy to say, is this going to help me make more sales? Is this on my action plan? If it's not, revise your action, like look at it and say, right, can I fit that thing into any of those things I said I was going to do? Map out what resources is going to cost me more. You can do all of this in a couple of minutes. It's not, don't go to sit down for a whole day.
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, write it on the whiteboard, put it in a Trello board, put it in your notebook, whatever. Use that idea when you want to focus on the thing that's going to help you do. But if you want to get real results, and we want real results fast, right? You're like me, we talk fast, we want results. If we work in little tiny 90-day chunks, what I found is it is small enough to get big results, but it is also small enough to not get bored. After about 90 days, people like us get bored. We're like, I'm over it now. What's next?
Yep.
But we can work to 90 days. It's a stretch, but we can do it. And we can also do it when we can start to see results. If you can get into week 4 and you have tripled your revenue, it's like a drug. Of course, you're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So we're so results driven.
I think that my hardest thing to deal with, especially now, is, I get offered so much stuff like projects and stuff like that. And it's like the entrepreneur in me wants to say yes right away when I hear like a great idea or like something that catches my attention. And it's like, at one point I had to like drop a bunch of stuff. I'm like, I can't because I'm half-assing everything instead of like focusing all the way and growing it to its full potential. So my hardest thing now, it's been saying no. And I feel bad. I feel guilty because people come to me so excited. And I'm like, I can't. Especially if it's like a friend or acquaintance, Yep. That's the hardest for me.
I heard Marie Forleo say the other day, I am a professional letter-downerer. I let so many people down. But she didn't mean it in a bad way. She meant it exactly like you said. She said, because I say no to things that aren't in my plan. Like if it's not written down and we're doing something else, the answer is no. And it's the only way that you can focus. And I think it's easy if you have lots of people who do ads who are listening. A really simple way of saying this is in e-commerce, we do kind of 5 to 6 stages. So the first stage we might do, because we have an agency as well, we might do like a really cheap video views ad just to start building audiences. They do have, shop now buttons, and we do get quite a lot of interaction. But they're like 1 cent, a penny a view, and you can build up really big audiences. And so we'll do that. And then we might do some, depending on the product, we might do some information about the product. And then we might move into DPAs, which is your carousel ads and things like that. And then we'll move in retargeting. We might talk about, I said, I have got a few different clients, but some of them are really high end, like jewelry. And so in those retargeting, we'll talk about the fact that they've been around for 25 years, that they have it's like platinum shipping so that it comes by courier. So we talk about these kinds of things in the retargeting ads. So we're building, like we literally go through the customer journey in an ads campaign. But you can't do that if you're not focused on that. So what most people will do is they'll just go and put a carousel ad out or a DPA out with Shop Now and go, why am I not getting any sales?
Yep.
Right.
Copywriting.
Because you did it well, because you didn't focus on it. You didn't focus on the customer journey. You didn't focus on what, sending the right message to the right person at the right time. That's because you half-assed it. Whereas if you sat down and you said, this 90 days, I'm going to focus on my marketing. I'm specifically going to focus on Facebook ads. You need to understand the customer journey. So that's the customer pillar. But everything I'm going to do is focusing on my ads management. Do you think you're going to get more results if you spend a whole quarter nailing your ads rather than just throwing up a carousel ad?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No.
But people don't want to do that.
Yeah, I know. And you know this because you're on the agency side of things. It's like, hey, we need new creatives. Like, what are we doing? Because some brands, they're the ones that provide you because they're very like red tape, corporate America. Yeah. Everything has to be approved by 30 people and it has to be done in-house. And it's like, guys, we've been asking for these creatives and this copy for like a month. Like, well, so-and-so had to approve it. I'm like, you understand this is like affecting our results. And it's like, I guess it's when it's not on their own care, kind of, but it's like.
Even if it is their own money, I think what happens, the people I work with are independent retailers. So some of those are, like I said, $5, $6, $7, $10 million, but it is their own money, but they don't want to put numbers on things, and they don't want to put those targets on things. One, because they fear failure. Like, what if I don't hit them? But what if you do? Like, imagine what we do. And the other one is, especially when it comes to team, is when you start to put goals and targets, results, whatever you want to call it, onto your team, they feel like they're going to upset their team. Now, I can tell you, I have done this with dozens of clients, and at no point has a team ever been upset. The only people who get upset are the people who are slacking off, and they end up leaving. But in every single case that we have put targets in place, they have increased their revenue significantly. Because again, all of a sudden your team, your staff have something to work. They've got a number. And I can guarantee you, if you put a number of $50,000 on this month and on day 29, you're at 47,000, I almost guarantee you'll get that extra $3,000.
Oh yeah. I mean, I come from a background in sales before I got into, digital. So it's like, it was always like, I always had a board with all my numbers, back then where I can see like how much more I need. Oh my God. And then it's like the end of the month, I'm like, oh, like if I hit, already went over it like by the 15th or the 17th, now the rest is gravy, right? And it's just how high can I get? Yeah. I mean, if you're a competitive person, absolutely.
But even if you're not competitive, I've got this one client and I went and saw her team in the store and we were going through the numbers and their average order value was consistently $165. $165 every month, $164.83, $166. And so I walked in and I was like, you guys are on fire. Like, we had an average order. We had 300 orders for this month in store. You've done 350. The only thing we need to work on now is average order value. It's awesome at 165, but if we can get it to 180, then this is what the difference would be. And immediately the store manager said, we could do that, but we don't have the product in that price point. We don't have a $15 to $20 product that is easy to sell. So all of a sudden, like literally straight away, she identified the problem and said, this is what we need to do. And she said, I'll start looking at things that we could get in that price point. So you're actually empowering your team. And it's been 6 weeks and they're now at like 175. So
this is a physical store, right?
Physical store. Yeah. So in there, they have an e-commerce store as well. So in their e-commerce store, they were already doing upsells and cross-sells, but we put in post-purchase upsells. And they're just testing. They've only just put those in place and they're testing out different offers. So the average on that tends to be about a 30% take-up rate and a $30 average order value. And so if you're listening and going, but I don't want to annoy my customers, I can tell you now 30% of people want the thing that you're going to offer them. And the nice price point is around $30. So if you can get $30 out of 30% more customers, what is that going to do for your business? Like, what are you going? A lot, right? And it's just these little tiny things that people can do.
You know what it is, though? The people you tell people that or either they're still learning and they don't have the experience that we have, or they're just lazy and they don't want to take it to the next level. But when it comes to upsells and cross-sells and post-purchase offers, you have the data. You know what people are buying together. So just put the whole combo together, like Big Mac, fries, Coke. It's right there. Just put it right there. Product, upsell, downsell, and it's like, if you match them correctly according to your data, because you know what sells and what doesn't, you see the top 4 in your Shopify dashboard, you put that deadly combination together, your AOV is going to go through the roof.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah, go for it.
So I work with a lot of 6-figure businesses through our Scale Your Store program. And then I generally work with 7-figure businesses, either one-on-one or through our mastermind called Supercharge. There is one core difference between those two business owners. The 7-figure people will take action, not argue. Give the same piece of information, implement post-purchase upsell. The 6-figure person will argue with you about why they can't do it. The 7-figure person says, we'll get it done this afternoon.
Yeah.
That is why they grow so significantly more.
Right.
And if you are listening to this and you are doing 6 figures, one, I want you to go and do my free quiz. It's super fun. It will take you like 2 minutes. There's even a question about what kind of cheese you would be. It's not boring. You can find it at salenaknight.com/quiz. And that's going to tell you which pillar you need to focus on. It's completely data-driven, even though it took us 6 months to make fun questions because I didn't want another boring quiz. But the other thing is, when I tell you your answer, and I'll give you like a little download that says, here are some things that you can start doing now. Don't argue with me.
Just do it.
Right? Just do it. There is a reason that people spend a lot of money to work with me. There is a reason that people can go from $120,000 to $1 million in 5 months. And the answer is they didn't argue with me. They just did the thing. So if you are sitting at 6 figures, 1, work out what you're crap at and what you need to focus on for the next 90 days. And 2, don't argue. Just go and implement.
Exactly.
It's pretty simple.
That is so true, though, and that's the different mentality when it comes to like staying as a small business and growing. Like, there's somebody sent me a meme the other day, and it was like the $500 a month client. It's like, here's my $500. Make sure you take care of it and be careful how you spend it. This is my life savings. Blah 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 blah. And then the $50,000 client, it's like, checks in the mail.
Paid,
it's like paid.
Yeah.
And
so here's another thing, just quickly, sorry to talk over the top of you.
Go ahead.
We actually banned the word small business in our company. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is, and I actually just sent an email about this today. The reason for that is, if you are calling yourself a small business, 9 times out of 10, it is an excuse because it's prefaced with just up. So it's back to these excuses. I can't implement post-purchase upsells because I'm just a small business and I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, but I'm just a small business. I can't be everywhere on social media because I'm just a small business. I call BS. You can do anything a big business does if you map it out for 90 days. And if you focus on that one thing and put all of your time, energy, and resources in for 90 days, you will see results. So first thing you can do, apart from the quiz, so 3 things to do. Take the quiz, stop arguing with me, and no longer call yourself a small business. You can call yourself a service provider. You can call yourself an independent retailer. You can call yourself a business owner. I don't care what you call yourself, preferably CEO of your company. But every time you hear the word small business, start thinking to yourself, are they ever going to be a $50 million brand? No, they won't. Anyone who calls themselves a small business is using it as a way to keep themselves playing small.
That was my biggest, I don't want to say problem because it's not really a problem, but my biggest hurdle. That's the word. Yeah. Hurdle with my partner, which I'm telling you, I love her. She's amazing. And we really click. I mean, we can, it's amazing the what do you call that relationship that we have? But
symbiotic.
Yeah. But what she's been doing her whole life has been always on a very local level, local community type of deal. And I joke with her, I'm like, I have to beat this out of you. I have to beat it out of you. Like, you think your customer is this, but it's not. Here's the data. I'm telling you, just for me to get the pricing right, because she wouldn't listen to me. I was like, I'm going to show you. And I literally grabbed something that we have and I cranked up the price by $40 because I've done the market research. I'm like, watch, it's going to sell. And she was amazed by it. She's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, you can't think local, man. It's like, I'm telling you.
It's not even thinking local. I think where that comes from, because that is a lot of my clients as well, is they started their business to help people, or they started their business from a hobby which grew. And so one of the things that helps them to overcome that kind of mindset, hurdle, obstacle, whatever you want to call it, is understanding that money has this circular flow. And so I tell it about this little story. So where I am, if I look just down the road, there's like 5 shops. There's a hairdresser's, an Indian, a Thai shop, a pool shop, what's in the middle? Oh, there used to be a florist. So the florist is no longer there. It's a real estate agent now. So, but the florist was, her son went to kindergarten with my daughter. And my daughter and I were walking down the hill one day and we were talking about money. And I said, I'm going to go buy some flowers for Amanda. And she said, oh, whose birthday is it? I said, no one's birthday. I'm just going to go buy some flowers because I'd like some flowers. And she's like, oh, but flowers cost a lot of money because it's a nice florist. And I said, yeah, but you have to understand that when I give the money to Amanda, one, I get beautiful flowers that make me happy. But then Amanda gets to take that money and she can spend it on, her son's name's Banjo. She can spend it on, maybe she wants to take Banjo to the movies, or maybe she needs to pay her rent. And so when she pays her rent, that money goes to the landlord, who then would spend that money looking after his family, or, going off and buying a new car, whatever he wants to do with it. And so she cottoned onto it really, really quickly, because she said, oh, maybe Banjo's mum doesn't want to cook dinner, so she'll go next door to the Thai restaurant and she'll get them dinner, and then the Thai family can go and spend the money. And so when you quite good, hey? One of those proud parent moments. She also understands
that's awesome.
She understands the cost of goods, because at the school fair they had to get a prize. And she was trying to explain to the kids that the prize couldn't be worth more than 10 tickets. The tickets were $1. And so if they spent more than 10 tickets worth, they weren't going to make any money. And one of the parents messaged me and she's like, your child is teaching everyone cost of goods. But when you think about money like that, when you think about all the good that it can do, and if you make more money, you can spend more money, you can make better choices, you can hire more people, you can buy a new car if you want to, but that money then goes to the car dealership and those people get paid. And when you think that money just moves around and makes other people's lives better when you spend it, that tends to be one of the key ways of getting people to overcome that obstacle of making more money. But let's not forget, the more money you make, it means the more customers you've made happy, because people buy your stuff generally to be happy, to either make them happy or to serve a need.
And the other thing that I had to get her to understand is, you took the time to come up with this idea. You took the time to design X. You took the time to find the materials that we needed for X. We had to ship those materials for X from all different places in the world, because they're not here, in the world. And no, it's not China. We got them here. Now that piece has to be made, handcrafted, it has to be handcrafted. That takes time to do. Now we have a store that we have to pay for. There's overhead, there's taxes, there's marketing. This is not just you out of your house doing this. And that's when like everything started clicking. It's like, oh, you're right. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm right. But it's, you got to find what you're worth and you got to charge accordingly for it. You
And
can't,
also, as I said,
you can't race to the bottom, basically.
No, definitely. And also just thinking, if you're not there, because this was one of those, back into when I had my store, this was one of those moments where I literally found myself crying in the storeroom thinking, shit, it's all, there's no money. We're going to have to close. And the thing that drove me to kind of work this 5 pillar stuff out was, where are my customers going to go if I'm not here? So we had eco baby products. Like, I can't see these women going into Target saying, what do I do about my cracked nipples? What do I do when my baby doesn't sleep through the night?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they came to us for. They came to us as much for the products as for the advice and the community and just someone to listen to them. They're not going to get that at a big box store.
No.
And so that drive to serve my customers became like the core focus. And it was, so if we don't make money, we won't be here to help them. Then there's nobody.
Yeah.
So what do you say? If understanding how money works and making more money is one of those obstacles you find yourself in, go back to that. If you don't make money, if you can't survive, then you will have no business. And then who will serve your customers? Right.
That's a great way to put it. I love that. And I think, you know what? I think we're going to end it right there because we're on time. I love that. I really love that line. Anyway, so where can everyone find you? Of course, I'm going to have the links in the description, but just in case I don't have all of them in front of me, where can they find you?
Okay, so I'm at salenaknight.com. I spell my name different to Selena Gomez. I am Salena. I'm older than her, so I was one of the first.
You're the OG.
I'm the OG in lots of things. I tend to, look, I'm really trying with social media. It's not on my 90-day plan, so we occasionally post stuff on there. But I hang out on LinkedIn, so you can come and find me there and connect with me there. But if you are on social media and you want to see some of the random things that I post, I am the Salena Knight. But, and the podcast. If you are a retailer, come and listen to the podcast, Bringing Business to Retail. There's a little bit of a double entendre there. So we'll give you business strategies and inspiring stories to help you grow your store.
And the website? We're forgetting the website.
Salenaknight.com.
There you go. Okay, got it. All right, Selena, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really enjoyed it. And we definitely have to do this again. We got to do it again because I want to give you an update.
We can talk about marketing. We can talk about one of you can pick a pillar and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right, everybody listening, thank you so much for listening and watching. You guys know what to do. Smash like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. Helps with the algo. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.